And again, we live in such a forward-facing world. The next goal, the next thing, the next investment, the next bucket list item, that we forget about what we've actually done in the past. They'll be like, oh my God, I've done a lot of this stuff really without intention. I've done a lot of this stuff by default. What if I actually put some freaking thought into this? Holy.
Welcome to the Dynamis Podcast, guys, where this week we're going to venture a little outside the box of what we normally talk about. We're not going to talk so much about investing or strategy or money, but we are going to stick in the theme of mindset and a life well lived. And today's guest is somebody who I'm extremely excited to bring to you. He is a guy that I connected with through GoBundance, and I listened to him speak at a conference, a GoBundance conference in Dallas, Texas. And it's one of those deals where you show up, there's keynote speakers throughout the day. You don't really know what you're going to take away from the message. Some of them are incredible. Some of them are, that was nice. Nod your head, a couple bullet points in your journal, and you walk away and you never look at it again. And the guest that we have today, his name's Trav Bell. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and really talk to us about the impact that he makes. But all I can tell you is that I came home from that trip with pages of notes from his lecture. And not only did I revisit these notes in my notebook, but the night I got home, I got all of my family in a room. I reviewed what I learned from Trav, and we sat on the floor as a family and we made our mission statement. We made our values. I made each one of us make a bucket list for our lives and what we want to accomplish. And we really started implementing a practice of gratitudes and thinking about what we're grateful for and reviewing our reverse bucket list. And there's just so much complexity and good value in this episode. And I'm really excited to bring it to you. And I know it's not investing. I know it's not money, but what you're going to walk away from here is really going to make a bigger impact than all of that, because that's why we work so hard. That's why we sacrifice. And it is my honor. It is my pleasure to welcome Trav Bell into the Dynamis Podcast studio this week. So Trav, welcome, my man.
Oh my God, Tim, that is possibly the best introduction I've ever had. So, mate, when you're done with this investing thing and this podcasting, you can come on tour with me and just be my intro guy. Stoked to be on, man. Thank you.
I would love that. And just so the audience is aware, this is a very special episode. It's the biggest geographical gap that I've ever had for a guest to be on the show. You're recording from where? Melbourne?
I'm in a place called Ocean Grove. I'm looking out to the Southern Ocean as we speak. So I'm an hour and a half out of Melbourne here in Australia. It is currently Friday. It's Thursday where you are, so I'm from the future. Like I said, stoked to be on, and wherever I can spread the message, I will.
You didn't just make an impact for me personally. My stepdad and I went together, and he bought copies of your book for every single member of my family, all my sisters, my mother, my brother-in-laws, and that was what we did at Christmas, is talk about you and the bucket list and, life is short. And we just took so much out of your presentation. And I've been following you on social media, and I just been watching you live this epic life and get out there and surf. And I think where we should start, the best place I think we should start, and then I'll let you drive the ship because you have far more value than me yapping my gums here. But we sat down in a chair and you opened with, everybody open up your notebook and draw a square. And in that square, I want you to draw 10 vertical lines. And then I want you to draw 8 horizontal lines. And I'm thinking, okay, I know what this guy's going to do. I've been down this road before. And he said, color in the squares for how old you are. And I'm like, okay, coloring it in. And you said, look at what is filled in and what is left. And the empty squares, that's the amount of time you have left. And you said, sit in it. And you made us pause in silence. And I thought to myself, screw this guy. This is like the biggest bunch of horse crap. I'm not going to live this many more years. Like, I'm going to live way further than this. And then you started dropping stats in my lap, and you started telling personal stories, and it sobered me up so intensely that everything else just fell into place like a domino. And I'd love if you just took it from there.
Yeah, man. Look, I've done that all around the world. For the last 12, 13 years, I've been known as the bucket list guy. And that was born out of me going through, albeit mild, but depression, working out my own psychology. And it was positive psychology, which is the psychology of happiness, that helped me. It armed me with tools to help myself out of that situation instead of going on heavy antidepressants. I want to get the root cause rather than put a Band-Aid over the top of it. Someone called me the bucket list guy after I did my first talk 12, 13 years ago. I was so scared doing that talk compared to what I do now. I've just turned 50. Since I was 18, I had a list to do before I die, actually written down. And I thought everyone had one of these things. But in my first seminar, I surveyed the 40 plus people that I nearly had to pay to come to that seminar. I said, who else has got one of these lists? No, I was a lone ranger. So I said, well, why do you get up in the morning? Why do you want your investors? Why do you want more money? Why do you want more time? And the common response I still get, especially here in Australia, is pay off the house, put the kids through school, do a bit of travel when I'm older. Yeah, possibly sicker. I'm like, is that it? So for me, since I was 18, I just didn't get it. I didn't get why people didn't have this North Star called a bucket list to do before you die. It was always my compass, especially through tough times. At the end of that, it inspired the group and someone said, oh, how's this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. Ping, light bulb moment, went home and registered the bucket list guy. And I've been .com and I've been doing that pretty much ever since. But one of the things that I was coming out of the blocks doing that, a lot of people talked about bucket list and it was mostly about travel. Travel is expensive and travel takes a lot of time. So what about the other areas of life? So I created this My Bucket List Blueprint, which I went through with you guys at that Dallas conference, done the TED talk on it called Life's Too Short by Trav Bell. I've got a mohawk in that. I've got a mohawk when I turned 40. It was my FU 40 haircut and I've done a book on it. But in the book and through the talks and everything that I've done since and what I did with you guys is I hate being called a motivational speaker. It's like the worst thing next to life coach. But I do the two. And, every time you say motivational speaker or life coach, everyone's like, oh, get away. So I like to talk about reality. And reality is the fact that as the average age of death is 83 for girls and 73 for us blokes. So we call it 80. We call it 80 squares. So I like to go, all right, guys, here's 80 squares. Let's draw them out. And cross off the ones that you've been alive, please. And so if you've just turned 50 like me and you've got three lines left, I remember back in the day when I only, had half of them gone. But now there's another line gone. But it's having people sink into it. And I guess what you experience is helping people take time out of their life to work on their life and take that helicopter perspective. And then for that time that we've got together, at least make some calls, make some decisions, get off the fence, move the chess pieces in your favour, rather than living by this default that we're all seemingly bred into us. What about intentional design? And it takes speakers to help them get out of that mindset of the usual mindset and stop living by this default and living by intentional design. Stop just existing and start living. So there's 3 questions that I ask at the end of those. When you're looking down at your grid, there's 3 questions that I asked you. And those questions were, one, and there was, a couple of hundred people in the room when we spoke, and I say, okay, well, how does that make you feel? And everyone's like, oh, crap. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, this guy sucks. There's some real optimists in the room saying, I've had a good life. And who knows, underneath they could be going, oh, God. But 3 very poignant questions I ask is, one, just like the movie The Bucket List, which is about 2 guys that get given a cancer diagnosis and then they write a bucket list. And I say that's BS, because you shouldn't wait until you get a use-by date to then go and write a bucket list, let alone go do it. Right? So I want to wake people up before they get given a use-by date. That's my mission. So with the 80 squares, you're looking down the barrel, and then I ask, just to make it worse, put the knife in. How many people in this room, whether it be virtual or live or people listening, watching this, Tim, how many people know people are being diagnosed or died from cancer, just like the movie? You'll get most people put up their hands going, yep, I know people. Who doesn't, right? We're just talking about cancer here. We're not talking about heart attacks. We're not talking about anything else. Second question I ask is, how many people do you know have been diagnosed or died from cancer? Show of fingers. And you got people going, the older people in the room know more people, and they're going like this. Some people are putting up freaking toes. Younger people are doing this, and 1s and 2s. And on average, there's more than 5 on most hands. And then probably the third question that sinks in the most is how many of them, I ask how many of them with show of fingers made their 80 squares? And the results over the last 12, 13 years that I've been the Bucketlist guy is always the same, no matter where I go, no matter what country, what continent. And it's normally ones or zeros. So that's the bit that really sinks in and hits home. And again, we're just talking about cancer there. Now, I've done this, I've done the same sort of presentation, same sort of workshops on like 6 of the 7 continents around the world, in places like Cambodia, Vietnam, South Africa, India. Same result, but I had the not so good privilege of only delivering 70 squares over there, not 80. And yeah, it's pretty full on when you're looking out to an audience of 3,000 people and everyone's doing this. It's pretty gnarly. And so I like to break the ice then and then go, oh, who bought the motivational speaker? Everyone has a chuckle, but it's reality, right?
Well, what you're doing is you're giving us a sober reminder of reality of
I like that
why
description.
It's not that you're trying to be morbid, but it's a way to wake us up. It's the ice bath of reality to realize that the time that we have matters and how we invest that time. It matters. And you want us to wake up, and you're not trying to scare us, but you want us to wake up and realize, like, look at the physical representation of the time that you have available. Have you lived the life that you wanted to live? And what is that list? And are you investing in the people that mean the most to you? And I had a really great friend tell me one time, he goes, Tim, let's just say, what's the number for you? What's the number? Is it 100 million, 200 million? Is it a billion? What about 10 billion? He goes, let me ask you a question. Do you love your kids? Oh yeah, I love my kids. He goes, if you had $100 billion in the bank when you're 80 years old and you're looking at a scrapbook album of your kids' faces and you're flipping, and your kids are 1 and 3 and 12, just like they are right now, and you're 80 in this future, how much money would you trade to go back to that time in that life where the scrapbook album where you're flipping through the pages and you can go live with your 1-year-old, your 3-year-old, your 12-year-old? How much money would you trade for that? All of it. We all make excuses. We justify. Well, I'm going to grind right now really hard so that my kids can benefit and my wife and my family can benefit. But the truth is, you showed us, you put it right in our face, is that nothing is guaranteed. And you better live the life that you can live to the fullest right now. And that's what that exercise really does.
What it helps for the investors, business owners, of which there was a lot in the room, and I dare say a lot in your audience too, mate. I say a bucket list is a tangible life plan where your career plan or your business plan, let's say your investing plan, should fit into your life plan, not be the other way around. So I bring it home, bring that work to live principle home. And we live in, here's the thing, we live in such a delayed gratification society. I'll be happy when syndrome. Retirement, 401k, what we call superannuation over here in Australia, and investments compounding, and I'll be happy when that hits whatever number. It's like, dude, what's wrong with being happy now? Because let's face it, we've got a crisis on our hands. We've got depression going through the roof, with anxiety, suicides, youth suicides, the overprescription of antidepressants. We've actually got this thing now called the loneliness epidemic. It's a real thing. Loneliness epidemic. We know what a pandemic is, thank you very much. And now we've got this loneliness epidemic. We're more connected than ever before, but more lonely. So at the end of the day, something's broken. I'm trying to give people tools through my narrative with this bucket list brand and encourage people to go live their life like right now. What the hell are you waiting for? Because here's the thing, and you've done this too, mate, is you'll come up against people every single day that say, oh, I haven't got time for that. I haven't got the money for it. I haven't got the... It's like, I bet, and I guess I've got license to say this because of what I do and what I've done, but I bet if any of those people complaining about no time, no money were to get a cancer diagnosis, let's be real, they would suddenly pivot on their priorities. Because they're looking at this use by date going, oh, it's just got real. right? And I've seen it so many times. How many times do you come across people who suddenly got all no money, no time, complaining, and suddenly bang, it's like bang. Now I'm traveling, and it's like, really, dude. So I like to come in, give a reality check, and as a speaker too, you've got to come in and disrupt, and not come in and piss everyone off. I've had some haters over the years because I've triggered people, but not in a bad way, in a good way. But it's pretty presumptuous that I can come into a room. People have got their own stuff, own stories going on, their own to-do list that they're all worrying about, emails and texts and notifications they've all got to get back to. So it's pretty presumptuous that I can change lives in an hour. You've got to give people some ideas that really get under the skin, I feel anyway, really get under the skin that they can, like you've done, which is bloody fantastic. You can take home and then be the example number one, but more importantly, pay it forward into your inner circle. That's beautifully done. I wish more would do it.
You did this masterfully. We were with you for a couple of days and you shared some pretty personal experiences with us. And one of the more impactful stories you shared was summiting mountains with your father. And you talked about your rough upbringing with your father, how that relationship was at times fractured, and how you grew together through accomplishing these crazy adventures together. And that really spoke to me on a lot of levels. My dad and I, we took a trip together on a whim to Thailand. We went for 30 days, just my dad and I. We were like staying in hostels and just eating off the street food. And that experience is going to be something that I take with me for the rest of my life. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. It's one of the most valuable memories that I will ever have. And something that you really made clear and apparent was being happy and in gratitude. And something that I took away from you that was extremely, extremely impactful was how you practice your gratitudes. And I wasn't naive to gratitudes. One of my friends and mentors, he's, I would say, a black belt in practicing gratitude. But the way that you approach gratitude has been so game changing for me because I implement it mentally daily. And you have rules. You try to do 5 gratitudes a day. And your rule was never, ever are you allowed to repeat the same gratitude twice. And when you look at that, it seems like an insurmountable task. But can you talk a little bit about how you practice gratitude and where that comes from?
I don't know why I started doing it. I mean, mind you, I've been doing it for years and years. It was one of the tools that really helped me focus on the good that was happening versus the bad. And the rules are, my rules anyway, are to do them at the end of the day. Why? Well, I, probably like a lot of other people, have to switch off. I've got to switch off my monkey mind. And we're on computers, we've got notifications, we've got iPhones and everything beeping and buzzing at us all day. And we've got people and teams, and it just seemingly getting worse and worse. So you've got to have those pattern interrupts, workouts, nature, gratitudes, they all serve the same purpose. They're pattern interrupts. And for me, writing 5 gratitudes right at the end of the day just helps me sleep straight up. It actually switches over the chemicals to the gratitude chemical, let's just call it that. And doing 3 is easy. You can punch them out. Doing 5, you've really got to think. And the rules are, like you said, you're not allowed to repeat them. If you say, I'm really grateful for my family, we can all say that. We can say that every single day. Yeah, but the devil's in the detail. But what about your family? So it forces you to think about the detail and think about little happy things, moments that have happened during your day, so you can reflect on your day and go to bed with a smile on your face. I like 5 because it forces you to think more. I like doing it at the end of the day because it's a beautiful end to the day. It helps you sleep better. And when you reflect on them, you can really, like, if you do this for a year, you can really look back on the timeline of your gratitudes. And boy, that's an adventure in itself. And you can see the ups and downs that you've had during your days and where you were. But yeah, for me, it's just worked. And I know a lot of other people have taken this practice and implemented. I also like to have people write instead of doing it into their phones as well. So if you actually write pen to paper, it's more of a conscious exercise too.
So I did this regularly once we got home from that Dallas event. And then for whatever reason, I morphed it into like a verbal gratitude with my kids at the end of the day. And I still think that's good. I like that implementation, but I will say I found that journal the other day and I was looking back and I could instantly put myself back in that place where I was when I wrote it. It was a good reminder of what I was going through. It was a good encouragement of how far I've come. And for me in the future, I'm going to go back to physically writing these gratitudes. When I first started doing them, it was very difficult to come up with 5. When I say difficult, it was easy the first day. And then it got a little bit harder the second day. And I had to start bending my mind around how am I going to come up with 5 brand new gratitudes every single day when I'm continuously grateful for like my family. I'm grateful for my family today. Well, what am I going to say tomorrow? And I realized that I could focus on like the little individual experiences throughout the day. So I'm fine. I'm picking out the details. Like, God, I'm thankful for being able to enjoy some sunshine and play soccer with my kids today, that type of a thing. And when you reshift, that's what you're talking about of like no new gratitude, 5 a day, all of a sudden you're digging into second level, you're going deeper. And what it's doing is pulling you into the present and you're reflecting on how truly wealthy you are, wealthy in relationships, in love. We are just incredibly blessed to just wake up every single day with air in our lungs and legs at work and a roof over our heads. And it morphed into me waking up first thing in the morning and I'm going to sleep with these gratitudes and I'm waking up and I'm remembering, I'm like, God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. No matter what the storm or the turmoil, and that gratitude practice has been such a game changer in my personal life.
You know, people like me, even worse than me, who've gone through a bad patch, depression and whatnot. I've started with this exercise and just taking that gratitude muscle to the gym is a hard one for people in a dark place. I've got another process where I get them to post a positive thing out on social media every day, every channel. By being positive, it's amazing how positive it makes you. If you're putting yourself out there, if you're getting out of your own way, if you're being of service to other people, that's another level. But this gratitude 5 a day has helped a lot of people over the years. It's been awesome.
What you're talking about there, it speaks to the law of attraction. Psychologically, subconsciously, when we are looking for reasons to be positive, we're going to see the world through a positive lens. We tend to find what we're looking for.
Yeah. It's all that be the change that you want to see in the world. And boy, do we need these tools right now.
Yeah. You go buy a new Tesla and next thing you know, 30 Teslas driving home.
I literally did that. I bought a Tesla recently and now every second car is a goddamn Tesla.
And that's what I'm saying. And if you change, what you're doing is morphing your paradigm. And if you're looking for reasons to be positive, if your challenge is to say one positive thing a day that happened to you or write your 5 gratitudes a day, what you're doing is you're shifting the lens, the filter in which you exist in the world, how you see the world. You're going to find what you look for.
But it's the same sort of thing as bucket list, right? So if you actually write your bucket list down rather than having it up there with your daily to-do list, guess which one gets done first? Your daily to-do list. And it's not until something traumatic or dramatic happens to you or a loved one, then suddenly, again, like I said before, you reprioritize on your bucket list. So actually writing your bucket list down is actually the first step, because it's a conscious exercise. What you're doing is you're basically typing it into, via pen and paper, mind you, you're typing it into Google and the universe is your search. And it'll help you refine the search. If you actually just type something down or you write something down, that is your filter. And there's so many bits of information. You don't write it down, you're not punching it into Google. So how is the universe meant to conspire to make that how actually happen? When you're writing down your bucket list, same as gratitude, putting that filter on, and you'll take notice of different conversations, different things on social media in order to make that happen. So when you're writing down goals, let alone bucket list items, I say, only worry about the what and the why. Don't worry about the how. So write down the goal and why you want to do it. How amped, how fired up are you about that bucket list item, that goal, out of 10? 1 being couldn't care. 10 is I'm jacked. I will move mountains to make that happen. And everyone's got those ones on their list, the 7, 8s and 9s. I even, with my clients, I have them do a 10-year bucket list plan and also a bucket list budget. And so as a result, you're making this stuff really real. With that in mind, it sets people on fire. But a lot of people don't even write down goals. They don't write down bucket lists because they don't have the space to be able to separate themselves from their daily to-do list. And fear of failure, fear of disappointment is where people overcomplicate, overthink the how. So I said, don't worry about the how. If you want that yacht, write down, I want that yacht. And here's why. I want to go on this trip. Here's why. And don't worry about the how. The how will work itself out. If the why is strong enough, the how will work itself out. We've heard that before. We've got the T-shirt on that one.
And the why is for you, not for anybody else. It's a poverty mindset to think you have to justify to somebody else why you want something. You can want something just because you want it, and that's good enough. You don't have to justify or defend it. There's nothing wrong with that.
It'll be supported somewhere.
That's absolutely right. Let's jump into the bucket list, because this I took home and I had my family do a family bucket list. And then I had my wife and my kids do individual bucket lists. And so when we did the bucket list with you in our exercise, the first thing that we did is we wrote down the reverse bucket list. That was you getting us to write down everything that we have done or accomplished to date that we were proud of. It was exceptional. And you said, great, cross that off your list, move it over here. Now let's dig into the bucket list. And in your book, the book goes through exercises of how to actually get your bucket list done. And you made it so like articulately easy and awesome because you made my bucket list into an acronym, and each letter in the acronym has a very specific category. Because if you said, Tim, I want you to sit down and write your bucket list, I'd be like, well, geez, I want to travel the world. I don't know. It's vague and open-ended, but the way that you do it in this exercise makes it very pointed, and it makes it so that when something is crossed off that list, it can automatically be filled back in with the next thing. And I'd love if we just dug into the bucket list a little bit.
For sure. There can be 1,000 people in front of me when I talk, and I say, okay, who's got a bucket list? About 25%, should I say, they put up their hand. And half of them have got their hands sort of like this. I was like, you really haven't got a bucket list actually written down, have you? You just put up your hand because your mate has got their hand up. And like, yeah, okay. All right. So let's say 10, 15% have actually got a written bucket list. In groups like Go Abundance, which we're a part of, everyone in the room put up their hand. So it was just icing on the cake for you guys because you're all go-getters. But in the average 1,000 people, you get 10%. My running joke is, oh, thank God, I'm still in a job. So what I have people do is, because people are so busy being busy, it's like this weird badge of honor that we brag about or complain about every single day. I know that people are really busy and they come to a conference, they've got me jumping up and down in front of them. They're like, oh God, he must write more on my list. Gee, mate, I'm already up to here. I'm peaking. I'm already, redlining, and you're getting me to write and think about my bucket. Oh my God. So let's just stop. One of the pillars of positive psychology is being presence and also gratitude, right? So the reverse bucket list is what I have people do first. And there's a big gratitude exercise. That's what it is. And again, we live in such a forward-facing world. The next goal, the next thing, the next investment, the next bucket list item, that we forget about what we've actually done in the past. So if you stop, pause and reflect on what we've actually done, the timeline of our life up until this point, as if look at all the things, it doesn't matter what they are, all the things that you've done in your life as if they were in a bucket list all the way along, and pay homage, pay thanks, be grateful for those things. It puts a smile on everyone's face straight away. And for me, that stuff should be claimed. But again, when it's framed up in a different way, we just forget about it. But if I say, all right, build out your reverse bucket list just as much as you build out your future bucket list. But, in that room, I think I got you to identify 5 things on your reverse bucket list, things that you've done in life as if they were in a bucket list all the way along. Some audiences, I get them to do 3. Most I do, I get them to do 5. But people tap out at 2 or 3. They can't even think about what they've done in their life when asked. And that's pretty sad. But what they do when they leave the room and people really get into this exercise and start building out their reverse bucket list for years ahead, they'll be remembering all the cool stuff they've done in their life. And I want people to write that stuff down because it gives such a solid and grateful foundation for them and default for them to go and write a future bucket list. They'll be like, oh my God, I've done a lot of this stuff really without intention. I've done a lot of this stuff by default. What if I actually put some freaking thought into this? Holy. So it gives people a huge springboard. And then we go into writing the future bucket list after the reverse.
Yeah. And I heard this stat just to catapult on top of what you were saying. And who knows? I heard a different stat that like 47% of all statistics are made up on the spot. So take it for what it is. But
no, it's 83% of statistics are either made up on the spot or bullshit. So, yeah. So I think that's a real, I think that's a real stat.
That's real. On the backside of that, I heard a stat that, you're 80% more likely to accomplish your goal if you write it down one time, throw it away, and never think about it again. And I've written things down in a journal over the last year that I've literally never looked at again. And I've reviewed just on accident and thought to myself, holy crap, I've accomplished every single one of these things I wrote down. And I'm looking at the bucket list that we wrote together at your talk. It was a year ago. And these are like life-changing bucket list items that you're putting on your list. My bucket list spelled out is 12 letters. That's 12 items. Okay. I'm looking at my list as we're on this podcast and I'm like, holy crap, I've checked off 6 of these, or at least they're in the process, and it's like, how long would it have taken me to go through this list? So let's talk about the pointed direction of my bucket list. It's an acronym. So I can read this off or you could go through it. It's up to you.
Yeah, I created this My Bucket List Blueprint to help people. It's an acronym. So it helps people go north, south, east, west in their own brain to help them extract and articulate a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list. It's not just all about travel, which is what a lot of people think a bucket list is. And so it's my bucket and then list. So M, and I'll rush through this, is M, meet a personal hero. Who do you want to meet before your time is up? Y stands for your proud achievements. B, buy that special something, whether it be for yourself or for someone else. It's the only materialistic part. U, ultimate challenges, physical or intellectual challenges. C is conquer a fear. Remember, on the other side of your bucket list is a you that you don't know yet. And I want people who are listening to this, watching this. Here's the thing. People are dying at 40 and being buried at 80. Let that sink in. How dare you go through life and not get curiously excited about the person that exists on the other side of your bucket list? That's called your potential. And when you get to experience your potential like a 5-year-old kid, it puts a smile on your face no matter how old you are. So many people go through this thing called a midlife crisis. I call it midlife awakening. As a result, I get a lot of people saying, thanks, Trav, for giving me permission to dream again. It's like, dude, what happened? So conquer a fear. It's not about the actual fear of holding the spider or jumping off the thing out of the plane or whatever. It's how you map the emotion, the emotional roller coaster, but ultimately stepping up to the plate and doing it. Conquer a fear is C. K, kind acts for others. What's something that really pisses you off? What's something that you've been personally affected by? Not buying someone a Starbucks behind you or helping an old lady over a street. I'm assuming that your crew are nice people to start off with. So that's not a bucket list item. Kind acts for others. E, express yourself, the creative part of you. T, take lessons. L, leave a legacy, which falls in line with your investing crowd here, Tim. I, probably also fits in line with your crowd too, Tim, is idiotic stuff. I know that you're all serious investors and adults and got mortgages and got kids and that, but I know there's a 21-year-old dickhead backpacker all within you still. So people stop having fun. They stop having adventures.
That's like go to Cuba, smoke a Cuban cigar in Cuba in Havana or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that.
that's what I actually did. As a 4 times hospitalized asthmatic, that wasn't my best move, but I had a guy do the Gloucestershire cheese rolling competition the other day. You know that? Where they literally there's a wheel of cheese that goes down a hill, and all these idiots, I couldn't do it with my knees, but he's an ex-rugby player. He ran down the hill chasing a wheel of cheese, and he's nearly 50. There's a wife carrying competition in Norway. There is, there's some stupid stuff you can do. You don't have to be drunk to do it either. There's lots of fun stuff to do, like La Tomatina, as an example. These sorts of things. It's just, why stop having fun? You wouldn't wish that on your parents. You wouldn't wish that on your kids.
Well, don't die at 40. Don't die at 40 and wait till you're 80 to get buried.
Yeah. So we've got idiotic stuff. S is satisfy a curiosity. So what do you want to taste, touch, smell, feel, experience before your time is up? That category does get weird, especially when you do a couple's bucket list. I'm just saying. T, travel adventures. So travel adventures is the obvious one. There's some big adventures on there. Who do you want to do them with? Nothing sadder than doing a selfie at Machu Picchu, right? So who do you want to do them with them and why? And who do you want to... The adventures that I've done with my dad at Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest, Kokoda Track in Papua New Guinea, and the Inca Trail and Machu Picchu, and now we're best mates. That's a result. Now I've got a coffee with Dad in a couple of hours. Now we're best mates, and we weren't best mates growing up. So it's my bucket list that actually brought us together. We've had so many people come together because of that. So T, travel adventures. So what I was saying during the pandemic is people that haven't got the resources, maybe like you and I, Tim, to be able to spend good money on great adventures around the world. Be a tourist in your own hometown first. It's not where you're going and how extravagant it is. It's choosing life. It's choosing happiness. What are you doing this weekend? Where can you be a tourist in your own hometown? It's about embracing life. I say if you're engaged in your bucket list life plan, you'll be engaged in your career plan or your business plan. For those that are investors out there, those that are building businesses, that's the skeleton. Your job now is to put meat on the bones, right? Flesh this thing right out, because it gives you a really tangible why and a real big reason why that you should make that next investment, that you should take that risk, that you should get off the fence and hire that general manager, that CEO, or that VA in your business. Because whatever vehicle you've got, our businesses, our jobs, our careers, or our investment, our trust, or whatever that might look like, it's designed for 2 things and 2 things only. It's designed to spit out cash flow, and it's also designed to spit out time flow. So when optimized, and this is why you're so good at this, mate, when optimized, it should produce as much of that as possible, right? But a lot of people go, oh, it's all about the money. It's all about the time. It's like, dude, what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do with the time? Because I don't care how much you got, how much time you got. But if you're not using it, you're an idiot. So enter the bucket list, which plays at a whole higher level, right? But double bonus, if you actually love what you do, whether, in your job, your career, you're investing, you love it, and it's hitting your internal values, which is your rule book for life, I think that's the holy grail.
I agree.
And which a lot of people can't say. I'm doing something that I love, that I'm passionate about. It's of service to a lot of other people. It makes me happy. And it's given me the time flow and the cash flow that I need. That's the holy grail, dude.
I agree. And that message, what you left me with and the audience with at that GoBundance event, that has carried me and it has resonated with me. And that's why I wanted to bring you in, because I believe in your message. And I feel like what you're saying has a lot of altruistic properties that my audience can take away from as well. And I'm just truly honored to have you here today. And thank you for sharing this message again. For anybody that wants to follow you, get in touch with you, let the audience know where they can do that. And then everybody listening, we're going to put all of his links in the show notes where you can find his book, his landing page, all that. But let us know, how can the audience get in touch with you?
thebucketlistguy.com is the main site. They can go to Amazon, they can go to my site and grab a book if they want, or the My Bucket List Blueprint. There it is, with my rude head on the front. Publisher made me do that. I don't know why. And you can find me on the socials. And if you can't find me on the socials, someone today will get sacked. So Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy, or the Bucket List Guy. So yeah, you can find me on most of those socials there.
Perfect. Trav, thank you so much for being in the studio today. Thank you for all of you listening. And keep in mind, if you're getting value from this show, do me a favor, give us a review. It takes 20 seconds. I read every single one. It helps the show grow. Bring your friend, share the episode with a friend that you think that this could be impactful and change their life. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make all of you elevated. We're trying to make everybody's lives better, and all of us benefit when the community is doing better mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. With that being said, we will catch all of you killers on the flip side. See you next time.